Going live. We are now live, and I am with Got Hanzo and the real Steve Dye, and we are going to talk Vestige. Now, you guys want to, we're going to pop you up the screen here if this thing will actually coordinate with me now. It's not. Oh, wait, you know what? I need to, excuse me, everybody. I am getting used to my live stream tools. So when I get stalled, just laugh at me because I will laugh at me too. So here we are. Vestige is now coming up. Boom. We are now looking at this page where Vestige is, holy moly, you guys are at $56,813 with 943 backers. I think that's kicking some serious butt right there, guys.
Yeah, really. Man. It's amazing the support we've got for this project. I mean, we always plan for success, right? But when you get this level of support, we're thankful for everyone who's done, who's backed us, and I think that going forward, the whole plan was to give something that the people can look forward to for a long time, not just a one shot, not just a limited series. Like this Vestige is going to go on for at least 8 volumes, and I don't plan on ever wrapping it up if I can. I love this thing, and
why stop?
The support like this just to start is what makes me think that I can do this. So hail everyone who supported Vestige. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely on that. I these numbers are great. If I got half that, I'd be satisfied. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So how long have you guys been doing comic books? How long?
Well, this is my first ever. I've never written a comic book in my life.
Okay, and so
once.
Did you guys write as a team or individual? Did you write by yourself?
Well, this is basically my idea. It's my words. I wrote most of the dialogue. Steve wrote a lot of the narration. But Steve edited. We went along. This is, like I said, it's totally my idea. Steve has to put up with all these crazy concepts I have in my mind, and he kind of finds a way to organize them all. So that's why Steve here is what I consider the super editor. So.
I gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, and that's teamwork. So basically, you had the general idea, and Steve is the one that brought it to a real script.
Well, I mean, we sat there.
We
did it together.
I would say. Thanks for having us on, E, first of all. But as Gat says, all of these ideas and concepts and scenes pretty much spring from his mind and whatever he's got in his stash, however that works. But I kind of work with him with it, and kind of keep him on track as far as an act structure and some stuff like that, and basically making sure that it will fit. I don't know, man. Gat's got tons of great ideas. I've got working on 2 decades of professional experience as an editor, not in the field of comics, but in the field of periodicals and so forth. And, it's how I've been making my living for a long time. So we work together pretty well, except he drives me nuts because he's a wizard.
Well, for example, I wrote this thing and I was thinking, hey, this is probably 48 pages. I gave it to Steve and we went through it. He was like, brother, this is like 72, 80 pages, something like that. This isn't 48. You got to slow down, Gat. So this is what he does. He kind of reins me in a little bit.
I got you. No, that's awesome, though. I mean, that's all. I mean, I wish that I had somebody that to work with like that. I mean, so I can relate. I mean, it's a lot of work by yourself, and then when you have someone else to bounce off ideas, I mean, how beautiful is that? You get a little bit of reinforcement as you go. So,
well, exactly.
That's a good analogy. I'm the backboard for all of Gat's ideas. Pretty dinged up. It's really a fun process working with him. It's really a fun process working on a publication that's something that I'm really passionate about. I've been in comics since I was a little kid, as far as that goes. But the thing with Gat is that he like 8 pretty solid IP ideas, 4 of which we're developing, and it'll give you it gives me whiplash because we'll be working on one thing and it'll be like, hey, I just had an idea, and I'm like, shit, hang on, let me open that up, and away we go in another direction. So it's really cool.
Hearing that makes me think that Gat and I end up being really good friends because I have that same that same curse myself.
Yep.
That's sweet.
Well, it's like, hey, you know, I get inspired. We're doing one thing, and then it seems like something totally different pops up, and I feel like it's an even better idea than what we're working on at the moment. And so that's where Steve, like a good editor, he'll just reel me in and be like, hey, focus on this first. Then we'll write this down, you know, come back to it later, that type of thing, you know?
Right.
So I would suggest anyone out there who's writing a comic book to hire an editor. So.
Yeah, editors are good. I mean, especially, well, I mean, like with me personally, my best experience with an editor is I don't realize sometimes when I'm writing something that I'll go from current tense to past tense and back and forth. And when I go and proofread my own crap, I don't see it. So I understand the value of an editor heavily.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, and having one that you can work with on a tight level like that is just awesome. So you guys sound like you guys got a future working together as a team. That's just amazing.
Well, I would say he gives me he says, you know, Gat, I got to deal with Gat. Well, I got to deal with Steve too. So it's a two-way street. It's not, you know, we both got our own quirks, and yeah, but the thing is, it does work. We get a lot of work done in a short amount of time when we do want to get it done. And then when it comes to all the extra stuff, you know, we still find a way to make it fun, all the referencing and all that, you know, the researching and all that stuff. We still find a way to make that fun so it's not so dreary, you know, but we spend a lot of time together. So, I mean, I'm sure we get on each other's nerves.
Yeah, nah, you know, you got to be able to get along for sure. Yeah, and I love me some Gat, even though he does get on my last fucking nerve. But no, man, I love that dude. It's a blast working with him. He's got so many ideas and concepts. I mean, like, you know, really, we've got Vestige just about to the finish line. You know, we've got to get it printed and so forth. But as far as the materials, we're just about there. And, you know, just to give you an idea, we're mostly working on CG Jumpstart, the magazine right now. But
I'm excited for that too. So
yeah. Well, then there's a couple of Gat's major IPs that are kind of tangled up in there. So we're basically developing like 3 projects concurrently while bringing Vestige across the line. So that's what we got going on.
Talk about them when they're ready to be talked about. So
yeah, sure,
definitely. I mean, if I'm going to be doing live streaming interviews, there's no point in not getting it over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, here in a couple weeks, we're going to be going through some of the stuff that we're going to have in CG Jumpstart on War Campaign. So after that, whenever you want to talk about it, yeah, bring us back.
Definitely. Sounds fantastic. Well, before I ask the next question, let's look through the chat here. Anybody? We got some hails to say here. Hail Ryan Magnus. Hail Dan Marshall. Ryan Miller Art.
Magus, Marshall, and Miller. That's a freaky little trio there. Hell Brothers.
Yeah, no kidding, right? We got Comic Art Master. We got Terry. Terry, I hear you typing,
Joe?
Terry.
Terry's typing.
Terry's typing so loud we can hear it on the freaking chat here.
Comic Art Master, of course, is the inimitable Joseph Ball, who's doing one of the projects in Jumpstart. Yeah.
Christopher. That's yeah. Give me a name I can read, man. Come on. Spirit Flute. Man.
That's the homie Spirit Flute. Hell, brother.
Hell, brother, hell.
Yeah.
I like these guys. This is
great. We know that guy.
Right on. And then, of course, we got Get Down Demon.
Hell, brother.
Vestige.
Hell, brother.
Right on. So thank you guys for showing up to this chat. We're so glad you guys are here to watch us talk Vestige. And then we're going to dig a little bit more into this. Now that we got some background on the guys in the project, I want to know, what is the process behind the comic? Obviously, you guys talked a little bit about that, about how, how Gat, you had the idea and you feed that to Steve, but can you guys drill into that a little bit more?
Sure.
Like, process.
So what we did was we pretty much fully scripted this thing. We didn't leave any loose ends really for Donald. Very little, let's put it that way. I don't know what Donald's used to. I don't know what Nasser did, but we actually wrote a full script. It was pretty nice. I think he was pretty satisfied with it when he got it. There are a couple parts in the end that gave him hell, and I apologized already to Donald about that. We already talked about that, but I think for the most part, I think you have to ask him, but I think it went pretty smoothly going full script wise. Now, Steve, we've talked about this, in private chats now, whether we're going to do that going forward, full script, everything. I think with some books we will. With other books, we're working closer with the artist, and so we'll be a little bit looser. It just kind of depends on the person. But I think for the most part, when it comes to my two major IPs, one which is Vestige, and two which is called Bullet Maker, I'm going to pretty much full script those. So
okay, right on. All right, so basically, like let's say like when I'm trying to get like an idea so we can communicate clearly to everybody. Like, do you just outline it? Do you script it and then hand it to Steve and then he polishes it, or or do you guys kick things back and forth? How do you guys? What's the process?
I get high, and then I sit down with my notebook, and I scribble in it for hours on end, right? And I come up with these insane stories, ideas. I even write partial dialogue while I'm doing this. And basically do the entire thing on paper, written by hand, by candlelight. And then the next day, and then the next day I usually say, "Hey, Steve, what are you doing, brother? Or you want to work tonight?" And he either tells me to fuck off or, "Yeah, let's work, brother." And so, that's where we pretty much go into the process of going through everything I've written down. He'll sit there and take his little editorial notes and outline it as we go, right?
Right.
And then essentially, after that's done, he polishes that. He'll send that back to me. We'll work on the dialogue together, He'll go and do that again. I'll take one last look at the edit usually, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty solid process. That sounds
it's actually, I'm making it sound simple, and it's not, because there's still referencing and researching to do throughout this whole time, which is what takes the most time out of all this. Me and Steve sitting down and actually writing it and doing an outline, doing all the re-editing and all that takes hours, don't get me wrong, but the research and all that extra stuff is what takes a lot of the time. So
when you say research, what kind of research are you talking about?
Well, for instance, in Vestige, it's very historically based.
Okay.
You're going to see places in London that are, people, you can research it and say, hey, this was an actual pub in London at this time on this corner. We've got that in depth. I'm sorry, excuse me.
You're cutting back on the fantasy a little bit by making reality in the story.
No, I like to think I'm enhancing the history is what I'm doing. So I have a particular method. Like Steve will say, hey, this is the classical hero's journey. But a lot of my storytelling comes from, like, I grew up reading fantasy, and not just any normal fantasy. A particular guy, his name was David Gamel, and he has a very particular writing style. And if anyone who's read any of his books, he's an older author. I don't know anyone who's ever really, they might not have even heard of him, but he's brilliant. He has a very particular writing style, and he likes the way how he tells his stories. He has a kind of an Eastern philosophy in him as well, that you see in a lot of anime stories these days. So the way I do this is I kind of like to mix the best of both worlds. I stay with the hero's journey, classical storytelling, Western, what is it, Joseph Campbell or whatever, right? Says this is how this is done, right? Western stories are written like this. Well, I do that halfway. And then I also throw my anime kind of Eastern philosophy, David Gamel spin on it all. So that's kind of my thought process in the creating, like how my inspiration for how I create this. Now, when I mixed fantasy with history, that's something David Gamel was a master at. He would take things like battles that occurred between Roman armies and the Celts, right? And he would draw them into a fantasy setting, and he would change the names around, but you would still know what he was talking about. You still knew that these people were the Romans in the situation. These people were the Celts. Do you see what I'm saying? So he had a very particular way of blending fantasy and history, which I thought was just amazing. No one's as good as this guy. So that's kind of where I'm at with this, is what I wanted to do with Vestige was blend both. And I think I did it beautifully.
We're pretty far afield from the question about research, but I just want to toss in there. I want to interrupt Gat, as I want to do that. The way he does bring, I'm very well versed in story archetypes of the Western world and so forth. But yeah, Gap brings an Eastern influence to it and an anime influence to it that makes the process really interesting, because I'm like, no, dude, it should work like this. And he's like, no. And then he explains it to me, and then I'm like, huh, all right. You know, and it's a different way of looking at it than I think a lot of, you know, known or soon to be known comic writers might approach their subject matter.
It's kind of like you're a balloon in a string. One of you wants to float away madly, and the other one's making sure the other one stays grounded.
Kind of.
Yeah, but he really brings a perspective to it that, you know, I have had and continue to have a lot of long conversations about storytelling and what should be in a good book, a good movie, a good comic. But yeah, Gat's got a really unique kind of, well, you know, I don't know. He just brings a lot of kind of Eastern philosophy and some Eastern types of storytelling to it that I'm not as familiar with. And
so East meets West.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on when we're brainstorming. You know, he's like, no, this is how it works. And I'm like, well, we need to make it fit within a 3-act structure that comes out at the right number of pages for the number of signatures that we want to print, stuff like that. And he's like, but no.
I tell him to take the 3-act structure and shove it up his ass usually.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of like that.
Awesome.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, let's look at some of these pages before I ask another question here. Let's see here. So while I'm browsing this down here, what would you say is the, I can't read that, it's kind of small. What's the, see, mixing historical accuracy and fantasy adventure. Vestige links the events of history through the influence of legendary weapons of the past, and how the vestige imbued within these relics might influence the direction of the future for soon to be modern world. Sorry about my reading. It's small print on the screen here.
No, that was good.
My old eyes. So, and then basically you have a cover by Ethan. That's always nice. That'll help sales.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see that, by the way.
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet?
Still haven't seen it. It's a big surprise, I guess. I don't know. You know, we're still waiting. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm sure he'll come through.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
We're
anticipating. It's like Christmas Eve.
Oh, I got you. And then it's going to be like the big huge surprise, and you're gonna be like, jizz in the pants, kind of excited. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I get it. And then obviously Donald DeLay being artwork, and he's got some skills too. So let's not throw no shade at Don. That's
the thing with Donald. I mean, anyone but Caesar, it's like, Donald would have been doing the cover, but, it's Caesar. Who could ever turn down, such a blessing as that, to have a cover from a man of that stature, that quality, human sunbeam. I mean, even Donald understands. Of course, Donald is amazing. You look at what he's done with Brutus, and everyone loves Brutus the Badass. It's a very cool, dynamic style, right? But then now he got my script, and he was like, well, I can't draw, I can't do what I normally do. We're like, yeah, we know that, Donald. And he's really like, he bared down, and he's like, I've beat him. Like, I make the joke all the time on Twitter. I'm cracking him with a whip, like I've really put him through torture with this script and this whole story and everything he's been doing in like the last 4 months. But he's bearing down, and the stuff I got from him is just beautiful. So it's totally not his normal art style. He's flipped it up, and that just shows you how versatile the man is. So,
yeah, well, that also kind of, when someone's experimenting with their style, it kind of helps you find some some new originalities. So that always adds to a having something that you've never seen before. Goes a long ways. So let's take a look here. Let's see here. Now this is the same on the opening image in that video, which is pretty cool. Should we watch the video?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely, if we can.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Shout out to my homie Sinister Smirk, who made the video.
Yeah, Smirk the Alien made this video, and he did a great job. I don't know if you're going to
be able to hear the video or not, because I'm doing headphones. So if you can't hear it, speak up right away. Because I can hear it. Can you guys hear that?
Nope.
No. With a little more. With a little more. I guess I could have pulled up the script and did a voiceover for it all over again.
Yeah. Well, we can skip the video.
No, we're not doing
No
that.
problems.
Yeah.
I put a link in the description. They can go watch the video.
It's essentially the same images we have in the video here, and then a couple extra. So
now I like this. This is kind of like got a sun glaze to it. Obviously, you can see this.
Yep.
This is, that's got a really good effect. Now this is hot.
yeah,
Like
a little
totally
bit of a
Lady
nipple
here.
there. Yeah.
So
That
is
might
this
be
like
the first time we've seen a nipple of the lady in the lake. I'm not for sure. I could be wrong, but
possible. Now I'm probably going to Google that after we're done just to make sure. But
yeah.
yeah. Now who's this guy?
This is the protagonist. This is Charlie. He's had a bad day. Even superheroes have bad days. So
So is Charlie a superhero?
Well, not at this point.
Not at this point. It's not. Yeah, and I don't think it at any point in this magazine is he. So
no, he's not.
or I'm sorry, magazine book. I got the magazine on my mind. Excuse me. Thinking about Jumpstart 24/7.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, now, at this point in the story, he's he's a kid, but he's a kid in a time period when, it wasn't like like a certain previous would-be author in the Comicsgate realm. Nobody's making excuses for a kid who's 22, 23 years old. You got to be a man. So he's having a rough time, turn of the century London, but he's making his own way, but not without taking a beating or two. So he's not anybody's superhero at this point.
Okay. But he's got definitely a future, so that's the foreshadowing.
He's got a future, but what kind is it? That's the question.
Yeah. Could be a good future. Could be a really dark future.
Does he go superhero or supervillain?
Oh, that's the question to be answered, isn't it?
Right. All right. So this is pretty cool. You see that he's getting his ass kicked, right? That's him on the ground.
Yes. Yeah. That's previous to the other panel.
I got you. Now, Tobacco Doc. Now that's very time periods. I can see the history in this now. You guys are getting very time period specific here.
Yep. This is an actual London tobacco dock. This is Charlie's day job.
Right. Which that basically just labor jobs. That's so. Yep. And then we got your cover artist right there.
Hail, the human sunbeam.
Oh, I wish there was more pictures to dive into here.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah, we have some, and we should probably be rolling some out at some point. But yeah.
So let's look for these other ones here. These are the same ones that are down there. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Right,
but yeah, I will say this though. Vestige is getting kind of down to the end, so anyone who hadn't backed it, you're only going to have a couple weeks left. So this is your time. We're not going to leave it in demand for 8 months to a year. We're just not doing that. We're on to the next thing, which is CG Jumpstart magazine. So you're down to the last couple weeks. You better get your Vestige if you haven't got it. I'm telling you, this is an epic effing story. So
now, how many pages is this book?
It's 48 pages.
Just 48 pages for right now. I see that 48 pages right here. Okay, so let's look at these perks. All right, so you have the official Gladius Caesar pack. Now, what's in there? Let's see. Officially,
I believe it's a poster and a sticker with that one. Yeah.
Now, what size is the poster?
We haven't determined yet.
Okay.
It's gonna be a pin up, right, Steve? Is that what we're going with?
It's essentially a pin up. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. 122 claims on that. That's nice. Yeah, one book. That's obvious. So you got the book there, and then 2 books. Are these signed or not signed?
No, these are not signed.
And then 1 book EVS poster, and then 2 books EVS poster, and then that's the rest of the perks. Are they all bought up? Or are they secret?
Yeah. We had a lot of perks that were bought up really quick.
We had a tier where we were selling head sketches. Donald did. I think he's done 100 head sketches or 110. And then we have another tier, which is the original art tier, which was also sold out. We sold 10 original art pages. So, also, which I also forgot about. The drawn into the book, which we have a few people. What was it? 5 overall that were drawn into the book, and they actually die in the book. So
they actually die in the book. That's awesome. You have to bring them back to the next book then. So
Well, it was, it was truth in advertising. It was, I think it was the get killed in Vestige tier. I forget the exact thing that we called it, but it was, it was like get killed in this book, because a lot of people do get killed in this book. We had a few opportunities to make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, and then
that's where Donald shines too. I might add.
Getting people killed. That's his thing. That's awesome. Everybody's got their thing. I can't wait to see this book. I'm seriously excited about it. It's one of the first ones that I've personally backed. And
brother, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I just want Donald is essentially done. He's inking the last couple of pages. Other than that, I have it all in the can. Very close to colored. Things are moving along quite nicely. But the thing is I just want to give props to Donald real quick in that, we definitely taxed him with some of the backgrounds, and some of the preview art is indicative of how detailed and even lush, I would say, in some instances, his backgrounds are. But there's definitely some action sequences that have not been disclosed, and Donald can draw some gore. Is basically what I'm saying. Hell, Donald. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. See, now you're talking it all up. It's going to have to deliver. No, it probably will. I don't doubt it will at all. I'm fairly certain. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. So okay, now this story, right? Obviously, you haven't told too much about how it's going to go. So, but you have another one lined up in this tale. Another, obviously, you said you had like 80 pages worth of story. You cut it down to 48. So,
I essentially have basically five or six of these volumes outlined already. I have the next Vestige written, damn near written.
And an 8-volume arc is mapped out. 4/5 of that is page by page mapped out, and then Vestige Volume 2 is very nearly scripted. So.
Sweet. That's fantastic. So does this one end with closure or a cliffhanger?
This is a cliffhanger. You're going to get a cliffhanger at the end of this.
But it is a complete story. We took great pains with that.
True, that is true, Steve.
Yeah, we didn't know. I mean, Gat is, we're very, very happy with how this has worked out, obviously. But we also, went into it wanting to make absolutely sure that we gave people a self-contained 48-page story. You could read this, and certainly, we are now, thanks again to the support of all the loyal Centurions, Valkyries, and the other people that just think it's a great-looking book. We're going to be able to continue, but, we were thinking about who are we going to get an artist? How much is that going to cost? All the things, I know, that, and I'd like to talk about your book here in a little bit, but because I know that you went through those same things where you came out of pocket, you bet on yourself and so forth. So at one point with Vestige, it was very much paramount in our process to, I just want to make it clear, it's self-contained. It's a very satisfying story in and of itself. But, like any good comic, it's definitely got it's got some plot lines dangling there to make you want more.
I'm digging what I see so far, and I can't wait to read it and put it all together. You know what I mean? That's like like just
the hardest part is there's so much that I'd like to show, and that Gat's like I want to tell everybody, and I'm like, no, dude, spoilers, because it's
I understand that.
There's a lot of twists and turns, so.
Yeah, I might show people a lot more, but just behind the scenes in top secret, and that's that, But this is I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this, and I understand why you don't want to let too much out, because obviously, you have a lot of like surprises loaded up in here. I can especially if you went and did the research on the history. There's going to be a lot of just nostalgic nuts that are going to like be all over it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we went way off topic when you asked that question earlier, but what Gat was getting at is, and it's been a lot of fun, is he'll have a time frame in mind, he'll have an area in mind, he'll have whatever the genesis of his idea is. There's been a lot of late nights where we have just sit in two different offices and chase down facts to make sure that we were being as accurate as possible from as many directions as possible with some of the story elements. And it ate up a lot of time, but it was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, and you guys probably learned a lot too. So
yeah, knows most of this stuff, and then I know some of it, but do we remember it accurately? You know, it's something we picked up along the way, and then we're like, well, what about this? And then, you know, then we go, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'm saying I don't want to go too deep into spoilers, but this is our main plot dips into something which is kind of steeped in mythology anyway. So there's no real answers, although there are certain things that need to be historically accurate. For reasons I can't reveal. I mean, everyone will realize what I'm talking about once they've read the book. But it's just that, you know, there are a lot of times where, you know, we just wanted to make it seem authentic as possible. You know, we have people that bought the book and they're from the UK. And if we just put just any old pub name in there, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. I want to, you know, really, you know, do my due diligence on that type of stuff. And another reason is because I'm OCD about that shit. So, I mean, it's just what it is. Now, when we go with adding the fantasy to it, I don't think it really affects it then, you know, because none of those, the historical accuracy only adds to all that. So, like I said before, I think it's just a perfect blend. And then once people read the book, I think they will understand what I'm trying to do.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think you're gonna have a lot of people enticed. I mean, I'm enticed just from talking, but I mean, it's a great concept to screw with. I mean, it really is. So I can imagine the playground that you guys have, you've like laid in front of you. So
it's a never-ending story, Drew. You know, this thing could go on forever. And, you know, this story arc doesn't. I do have an end in mind. I know exactly how I want this story arc to end. However, that doesn't mean it's the actual end of Vestige itself. So,
I got you. That makes sense. That's interesting. So you could have you know story arc end and then you know transition and then like a whole nother book and completely different. That would be awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would,
you know, and then also not to just totally belabor it, but you know, within this 8-volume arc that we've got planned out, there's a lot of historical people and historical events that come into play, and it is a pretty cool. I don't know. It'll be a lot easier to talk about Volume 2 probably than it is about Volume 1 because some of the universe will get laid out in Volume 1, and then, but yeah, if I connect the dots and the general storyline in my head, it's like I really want to tell you who comes into play in Volume 4. But we got to get there first. Yeah, you know.
Well, I tell you what. Before you guys do Volume 2, you know, after I do my unboxing, I get my copy and I read it and do my unboxing and then my review. You guys should come back and then talk about what you were thinking when you made the book. So now the book will no longer be a secret. And we could pick it apart, and you can tell me what you're thinking and what you guys were thinking when you did this, and how this worked out, and tell us all the nightmares that you guys ran into, and how you guys, if you were in person, you guys would have boxed. That would have been awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, man. That's a good idea for sure. We'd love to do that.
Definitely.
And
we'll
at some point, and if we do that, at some point, me and Gad will start yelling at each other, and everybody can get an inside look at what the process is really like. That'd be cool.
Ratings. Awesome. Okay, so this is what I want to know now. When this book is done and all the prints are, delivered to people, is there plans for this physical copy of this book? Are you going to try and get it into stores and retail, or maybe distribute at cons? You got some kind of plan in that?
No. Zero plan. For that.
Yeah. Specifically,
we are crowdfunding. We are using the EVS crowdfunding model. We're Comicsgate 100%. I don't see any reason for me to go into a con yet. I'm not someone that's famous.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's for someone that people have prior knowledge of that come to see. I don't want to. I feel like it's not that it's a waste of my time, because it does sound like it would be fun, but I feel like the way it's being done now, how Comicsgate does it, is the best way to kind of to be close to the people. You know, you can do this every night. Every time I go live on War Campaign, I can talk to everyone who bought my book. You know, everyone that bought my book is in that chat, and they can say whatever the hell they want to me. And they also have ways to talk to me privately. So I feel like that engagement is even better than a con because they can do it 24/7.
Right. And it's not like once a year or twice a year, or it's
Exactly.
all the time. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why EVS is looking at like, what is it even worth his time when he can go live on his channel and actually sell as many, you know, as many books as people want to buy, you know, instead of him hauling all of his crap to the con, you know, getting on a plane, you know.
Yeah.
He's got a family.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
I just feel like this is the new way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's the established way to do it moving forward for those of us that, you know, we are caught well outside normal distribution realms. You know, to be painfully boring for just a moment. You know, again, I've been involved in publishing for a long time, and I understand the business models of various forms of publishing, whether it's comics or periodicals or, you know, whatever it is. You know, I understand monthly magazines and I understand quarterly magazines, and you know what the business model is. Within the realm that we're in, this is the business model that works. I think that it's smart to stay cognizant of what might be an emerging model in the future. I think it's smart to stay within, you know, certain like print signatures, for example, that lend themselves to other formats should that format emerge. But I don't have the hubris to think that I'm going to have anything to do with that. If it happens, okay, you know, again, I want to be prepared for that. But now to get away from the boring part, back to the passion part, what Gat says is entirely true. This is a movement. If we're not supposed to use the word community, maybe we can use the word movement. Whatever it is, this is the audience. Well, this is the audience. This is the audience. This is the marketplace. And thank you, Gat. It is a goddamn community. I don't care what they say. You know, I don't care how they twist that word into something that means something bad. You know, I mean, I toyed around for a while, with maybe trying to get cul-de-sac to turn on, because I was like, you know, this little neighborhood, a little enclave of houses, kind of like where I live. But then I was like, well, cul-de-sac kind of means dead end. And this ain't a dead end, man. It's an open road. But as of now, yeah, we're gonna crowdfund things. This is the model that works. You know, we're gonna, you know, Gat's gonna go right to his end user on the funniest show in all of Comicsgate, and quite often the gayest. And you know,
Quite often.
yeah, much to my chagrin, the gay part. But it's funny, man. You know,
No, it's hilarious. I mean, I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure Gat's, you know, noticed me in the chat, just, you know, cracking up at you guys. You guys kill me in that. I mean, I can't sit through one of those things I mean, in all reality, there's been jokes made because I actually have a backfire tendency, because I'm always drinking something when I'm sitting at my computer, and I have spit water on my monitor more than once.
I mean, that's what it's about, though. I
show.
mean, right? It's about, we just want to have a good time. Like, ever since we kind of came into Comicsgate, we started off in the chats over, you know, like 2 years ago. It's been at least 2 years for most of us. Some of them even longer than that. But you know, we were having fun in the chats. We all became buddies, and we were like, well, you know, let's kind of do our own show. You know, Ro kind of got a little bit of notoriety when he did the Zach haircut thing, right? And
I have no idea.
Ro was like, yeah, let's do a well. See, this is old school Comicsgate stuff. Well, Zach went on. What was that show, Steve? Do you remember
Jim
what it was
Jeffries.
called?
Jim Jeffries on
the
comedy.
Jim Jeffries show.
Yeah, on what used to be the comedy channel.
They basically interviewed him and they edited it to make Zach kind of look like a dumbass, and they kind of shit on Comicsgate a little bit, right? And Zach had this retarded haircut. Like, I don't know what he was thinking. He went into supercuts, and they cut his hair, and it looked horrible, right? And Ro was like, well, damn it, you know what? I'm going to get a Zach haircut. You know, let's support Zach. And we're like, you know what? You're right. Do it, Ro. We didn't think he would do it. He didn't think we would do it. And so he videotaped it. And then, you know, it was hilarious. Since then, he was like, you know what? Let's do our own little show. You know, we always have such a good time anyway. We can do our own show and get all of our buddies in here, and we can laugh and have a good time. And it turned into now what War Campaign is. It's a monster.
You
So
know, just on a side note, what kills me most about War Campaign is Roe comes across like this great philosopher in his approach to things, and then he'll get you all set up like he's talking about something serious, and then it just like rolls into something just completely insane, and it's like,
yep.
It's like, what the
We're
hell?
used to it now. Yeah, we're totally used to it now. This is normal. This is not him putting on a show either. This is Roe.
Yeah, that's scary in its own right, though. I'm just
Yeah.
But he's everybody being themselves is an awesome thing. I mean, if Roe's just being himself, then it's glory. If he's trying to be funny, it's even glory. So
I mean, we're all trying to be funny, right? But this is us. I mean, if you heard our back channel chats, I mean, you know, they're legendary. The tribunals aren't nothing in comparison to just me and Roe every day talking. We're the same guys that you see on the show. There's nothing different. You know, we like to have a good time. We like to joke. We don't understand why people get so damn upset. We're in a hobby that's comic books where it's about having fun. You know, we're actually, the War Campaign is, you know, often they say bad things about us. Hey, all this horrible shit that we've done, no receipts. But yet all these good things we do have receipts for, right? We've promoted people for well over a year. Every Comicsgate artist you can think of has been on our show, and we've tried to get them funded. That's been our job. We want to make Comicsgate the thing. To hell with Marvel and DC. Like, we're not just these whiny titty babies like Comicsgate Phase 1. We're actually here doing something about it now, right? And so these people need to jump on board with us and support this fucking movement for what it is, because it hasn't changed. We're no different than before. You know that? It's still the same thing. But now we got people who are actually out here actively trying to do something about it. Great creators, and these books are getting funded every week. There's a new book that gets funded through Comicsgate. And so that's what War Campaign does. And that's what we've been a part of now for well over a year. So yeah, it's just kind of like me standing up on my pedestal and saying, you know what? Fuck you, War Campaign haters. But it's true. It's time, you know, someone should say it, you know, and we say it every day on our show, I guess. But at the end of the day, we do a lot of good for Comicsgate. We've got CG only website coming, which is also going to help artists out. We've got the magazine coming, which is going to bring a bunch of talent to the forefront. You know,
the
we're doing what we can.
Yeah, the magazine's a great idea. I'm excited about that. I was a huge fan. I'm like still a huge fan, but it's different now than it was in this. You know, in the late '70s and '80s, heavy metal was my book. That was my book.
Yeah, man. In the '80s, that was my illicit purchase at the Quick Trip. You know, yeah.
I got in trouble so many times in school because I'd be sitting in the freaking you know, monkey bar rungs and reading that stuff as a kid, and I tell you, it was the only thing that existed at the time that would transcend, you know, what I mean, because the other comic books were so light and stupid, and even the ones that were cool at that time were still like weak sauce. Like it seemed, the thing I hated about comic books when I was growing up is that I feel like I was being talked down to, like they're trying to dumb it down for me.
Okay.
And that always annoyed me. Like it was
you primarily read when?
I would say from like 78 to 87, 88.
Okay. So that's prior to me then.
Yeah,
a little prior to me.
Yeah, it's not much prior to, you know, I share that quite a bit. My first experience with comic books was, you know, I mean, I read traditional comic books because I had a cousin that had boxes of them in his room. But, you know, we didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid and stuff, but I didn't have all that. But that's, you know, I was interested in comics, but at the same time, heavy metal. Yeah, man, that's the one that got me, you know, suspended from junior high for reading it in class. When there were some, you know, there were boobs and
boobs and sex and badass heroes and lots of violence and
incredible artwork.
Incredible artwork and
incredible artwork. And well, you know, that's the thing. You know, if I can, you know, I'm taking a lot of inspiration in how it looks, and you know, like Gat came up with the idea. and his was very more, was Shonen Jump. And I was like, well, what about some Wizard? We kind of hashed that out, but it's, we've got 72 pages plus of sequential art from guys like Joe Ball, guys like Simon, Sim Portier, Peter Gilmore's doing something fantastic with us. We looked for and found this guy. Man, it's weird to call a guy Doodle Bugs on the air when you know his name. But anyway, Doodle.
Doodle Bag.
Doodle. Yeah, bagged. And then, just a bunch of other stuff. The Diaz brothers have got a great project with another artist that they're going to let us premiere. What else, man? Just so much stuff.
Oh, Fowler he's got a 12-pager or 10-pager, I forget. From,
10 pages with Rob Willis drawing it. Yeah. Fowler's, it's a really, really good story. It's great looking. But that's what it is, it doesn't get thrown in there much, and I kind of appreciate you throwing it in there, E. There's a definite heavy metal influence where, we've got, the Diaz brothers thing. It's got a real Sin City vibe to it. Looks completely different from what they're doing with Magic Cop, and we've got some stuff, dare I say, everyone should aspire to be, but it's a real heavy metal looking book in a lot of ways. And we've got enough diversity of artwork in there as well. What Joe Ball's doing looks, both are equally brilliant, but Peter Gilmore's doing something totally different from that. So it's going to be a fun read, and then back to the business model real quick, and then I'll shut up. It's also a thing where we can not only put, again, this is, high aspirations.
You're cutting out, Steve.
All right. Sorry. Comics are aspirational.
Every time you say something, then you say, and then that comes through. It's so hilarious, actually. It's probably funny for the people that are watching right now. Like, what? This is hilarious.
I'm here
it's
to
like you're at the drive-thru and you're fucking with someone.
I'm here to be your comic relief from this interstate motel on Wi-Fi. Apologies.
Yeah, interstate motel on Wi-Fi. That sounds like a country song. Just saying.
Yeah, well, it does. I think of it more like an old STP 90s grunge thing, but yeah, whatever. Yeah. No, anyway, if I'm coming through it all, I could do that. DC and G, brother, all day long.
Right.
Yeah. No, but we've got a lot of great artists, and it's a way to get their artwork out there on a more regular basis. Maybe buy some of them a chance to work a little longer and a little harder on their individual projects while still getting their work out there. And it's also a way for guys to establish some copyright to an IP that they might be developing, and we're going to take on the onus of printing and fulfilling that and making that resource available because, like Gat does a lot more briefly and a lot more passionately than I do, we're here to grow this thing and we're trying to figure out ways to do that.
Yeah. And hey, Steve, when we're talking afterwards, don't let me forget about just say that thing you're talking about. Just remind me that I was going to say something. I'll remember.
All right.
Just because I'll forget if I don't.
Yeah. We'll get into it.
Okay. So my next question. Hey, let's do some hails. I see Sim is in there. Hey, Sim, how you doing? We got Liam Gray. How you doing,
Liam?
Hey,
brothers.
Hey, Liam's in the magazine.
I saw Vinny. There's Vinny. Hey, Vinny. Hail, Vinny.
Hail, Vinny. We got to get Vinny in the next book. Yeah.
Boner King, Vinny.
Boner King. Yeah, no, Vinny's really, really cool. I did my first interview with Vinny. We spent a I don't know, like for a 30-minute interview, we spent like 3 hours on Skype talking to each other. He's a seriously cool dude. I've been meeting a lot of cool people.
Yeah, Vinny's one of those guys. I don't know, it might be interesting, but you want to talk about, the people we approached for Jumpstart and then what happened next?
Why not? Hello?
I'm sorry. Nah, I must have cut out. This is damn StreamYards, guys.
Yeah. It's not my hotel in this interstate. Yeah, it's the StreamYards. Anyway,
what was the question? it cut
No,
out.
just, I thought you'd be more entertaining than me talking about the handful of guys we approached about Jumpstart just to pitch the idea, and then what happened next.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, all right. So the thing was, hey, I'm looking for guys that, number one, I was looking for guys to work on IPs for me, right? So this magazine idea kind of popped up, and I thought, well, this is kind of a way I can get some of my ideas out there, and without having to do an entire book right away. So I was kind of looking around at people who would match up to particular story ideas that I had, and I'm very particular about which artist I pick for which books I put them on. And this is another thing it's endless hours, isn't it, Steve? Just trying to figure out matching an artist to an IP is, I feel like that's, I mean, if you're going to spend time thinking about something, that's something you do want to spend time on. So countless hours doing that. And then, so we looked through a few guys, and the first guy we talked to, I can't remember, was it Sim? And then, me and Sim decided, because, hey, we talked one night, and we came up with this idea creatively together, and we're like, well, let's do this now. Let's do this as soon as we can. How can we? And the idea for the magazine was already there, so we're like, well, why not just do it ongoing in the magazine with it? So it was pretty easy to pick up Sim, because we were like, well, let's do this. We didn't really want to wait, so it was perfect timing. I feel like this also gives other guys like Sim, like Joseph, like Doodle, like Peter, which I think Peter's the only one who doesn't have his own IP going into this thing, but it gives people like them a chance to get their ideas out there too, not only just my own. I'm not just being all selfish here, although, don't get me wrong, I want to get my ideas out there. But it's an opportunity for other people to do that as well, So we're going to push all these guys, three other guys I named, Doodle Bags, Joseph Ball, and Sim, all have their own IPs that are going into this thing, and they're all cool as well. We have a great mix of stuff. Like, we have horror, we have sci-fi, we have fantasy, we have, basically everything covered. What you say, Steve?
Oh yeah, even some parody
including
stuff.
Parody, including parody. So
fun.
But
great.
what I was getting at too, also what happened, and I'll let Gat take over, was we approached a handful of guys about, this is what we want to do. What do you think? And every one of them have been, enthusiastic and supportive and eager to take part. So that was pretty cool. And then we were like, okay, this is probably going to work. And we put the word out there a little bit. And man, it's really been, and apologies to, and I know Gat feels the same way. We've had to tell a lot of people, bro, no. We spent a couple of months basically telling people, let's talk about your next project, man. Let's figure this out. Because there is also, just we're full. We had a lot of people just like, can I get in? And we were like, yeah, brother, you can get in. And and we've got we'll be announcing who the cover artist is soon. That's kind of a big deal. And but anyway, we had a lot of people that wanted to get in that we weren't able to find room for. We want to grow this thing. We want to be able to make room for essentially everybody. And
if you can't get into issue 1, there's always issue 2.
Well, as an aside, we also want to hopefully do it. Everybody should keep their own production schedule, their own idea of when they want to launch and all that sort of thing. But ideally, we want to do the magazine quarterly at first, and who knows after that, but quarterly, and do winter, spring, summer, and fall, and hopefully be able to.
Steve.
I know, Gat. We want to be able to overlap it so that we're featuring people that are either launching a book or about to launch a book.
Right.
We're approached by a few guys that we're going to be like, dude, we're going to get this out at the end of the year. You will have been in demand for 6 months by then.
Right.
We're not really going to influence your good fortune, So hopefully, we can, moving forward, just to let everybody out there know that, we're looking to do this quarterly. So when you're preparing a project and thinking about it and what have you, we're just going to try to make it work where
think far ahead is what you're saying. Think
Think
far ahead is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense because I mean, obviously, it takes a long time to develop a book, and then when it comes to market, you want it to be fresh material. So
Yeah. Well, that's what we'd like to do. Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
But you're right. Like Steve said, I'm sorry. We've been beating them off with a stick for the last 2 months. We do apologize to everyone we've had to turn down, but we just can't do a 200-page book. I got in Steve's, a couple weeks back. Now you got me saying, Steve. Damn you. A couple weeks back, as we were going through, kind of our page count, and it was way too high. So we had to cut a whole bunch of stuff down. We condensed it. We're down to, I think, 120 pages. We're going to keep it at 120 pages. That doesn't mean in the future we don't go higher, but for this, I think this is what we're sticking with. We do have 90 pages of art. I know 72 of it is basically sequential. And, but there's an additional 90 pages of art. We have a bunch of cool promos. We have really cool editorial sections that Steve can tell you more about. And we have a cool parody section. So we thought ahead. We wanted to include as much stuff as we could. We wanted to get as many comic skaters out there involved in this magazine as we possibly can. And we want to continue to do that going forward. So anyone out there who has ideas, just approach me or Steve, and we'll sit down and talk about it. We do it every Wednesday, every Sunday almost. So anyone who wants to sit down and talk about magazines up.
Yeah. Hey, while we're talking about that, you guys want to push your channels? You guys want to push anything other than Vestige and C Jumpstart?
I would just say go sub to War Campaign. That would be the only thing. If you're not sub to War Campaign already, then go sub. We're hilarious. And then if you haven't backed Vestige,
what's the official War
go
Campaign?
do that.
What's the official War Campaign broadcast schedule?
We really don't have one now. There's been a lot of stuff going on. People have some personal things to take care of lately, so it's not really cut and dry. Usually we go every Sunday. We try to. We usually go Wednesdays and Sundays. It doesn't always work out like that. Occasionally we're a day late. Occasionally we're a day early. I do believe Friday we're going to stream again because Pan will be getting back from his little vacation. So, I think Friday we're going, and then probably again Sunday, depending on what the Gaylord says.
Well, you can't do it without Ro. It won't work the same, right? I mean, you got to
exactly.
That makes sense.
Ropra.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he went camping about a year or so ago, and it went completely off the rails. So we're not doing that again.
It's like, you're not allowed to go anywhere, Ro. Sorry, you're just not allowed to leave, man. You just you get 1 day vacations, and that's it. Yeah.
But that's really the only thing I can plug. I would say stay tuned for CG Jumpstart. We're going to be previewing some stuff coming from it and doing the cover reveal and the main interview reveal here in the next week or two. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, we'll be doing that.
I've seen mock-ups for the cover. I've seen all types of, the articles and stuff that we're going through. Everything's really cool. Like, I'm really pleased with everyone who's working on this. We've got amazing people that are doing the editorial work as well, not just artists. So, I mean, it's going to be great. Like, CG Jumpstart's going to change Comicsgate. It's going to really help it move forward. We're going to bring all the talent to the forefront, all the cool stories. You're going to get to see them there first. So I'd be remiss not to take the opportunity to quick shout out to both Adams, Adam AF and Adam Post, to our brother from down under, Liam Gray, to our other brother from down under, Smirk the Alien. Let's see who else. Passion for Drawing. His stuff kind of straddles it. Passion for Drawing is going to be doing a coloring tutorial that kind of fits in the editorial section, but obviously it's art intensive. We've got some guys that are really helping out with, it's mostly going to be a lot of cool artwork, but there's also going to be some great words. And I've got some great guys helping me with that. And special shout out to 3D Robin, who's helping me a lot with the graphic design and the logo treatment and so forth, So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's freaking awesome. I mean, what you guys are pulling off with this book is really cool. CG Jumpstart's going to be freaking phenomenal. And let me tell you, War Campaign is definitely like still like lugging all the water for Comicsgate pretty much. I mean, you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
you guys are making the difference at this point. I'm sure that as Comicsgate grows, there'll be, parallel boats with lots of oars, but right now, you guys have got the strong boat.
Hell, brother.
We're putting our backs into it, brother.
Hey, I understand.
Speaking of putting our backs into it, tell us some stuff about Captain Love, the hero of the cleansing. Tell us some stuff about that, man. You were showing us some stuff off the air, or I'm like, this guy. We very much with Vestige. I mean, Gat came up with the idea. We hammered it out, and we didn't just put our backs into it. We put our wallets into it. We went out there and hired Donald F. and DeLay to draw the thing, and look at us now. We got other plans, but man, you've kind of done the same thing. You've got a great concept for a book. What you showed us looks fantastic, and you kind of went out there and paid out of pocket to get it done, and you've got it sitting there ready to go. From what I saw,
it is ready to go. Let me see. Let me pull up what I can show here. Let me remove this.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Enough about Vestige. We're doing fine. Let's talk about your book.
All right. Well, this would be the first time that I've actually talked about my book, other than on my own channel, which is my own channel. So I guess I'm still talking about my own book, my own channel. It's kind of funny. All right. So,
yeah, but you're telling us about it now. So
right. So let's see here. Let's go.
Think of it as an audition for your War Campaign debut.
Right. No, that one I'm gonna have to. That one I'm gonna need like an anal plug for my back hole when I start that.
Oh
yeah. Full shield and sword for that one, brother. That's what I suggest.
Yeah, no kidding, right? All right, so I'm going to open. My campaign is not launched. We're still on the sign up for that, but I'm going to bring up my little pre-campaign thing here, so I have something to show. So we're gonna boop. There we go. So what we have basically is Captain Love, the hero of the cleansing. Here's the cover art for that right there. Now, Captain Love, he is a space trucker and former war hero. He's accompanied by a rogue artificial intelligence named Spade. He reluctantly finds himself on adventures that could affect the course of the solar system. Now, it's a graphic novel. It's 72 color pages are going on in this thing. It's technically 65 pages of story and a bunch of extras. This is some of the artwork here. You guys have already seen it. I kind of gave you guys a prehand, but this is we got Captain Love here, and what down here at the bottom is Jean. These are characters from a war during his life. Now, the hero of the cleansing name comes from what you see right here. The cleansing is a war between the corporation and the planets. And basically, the corporation decided to force their will upon everybody, and there was quite a large battle with a lot of destruction. And then there's a little bit of maturity to this book, just a little bit of sex to go with the violence. Everybody loves that. A little bit of violence, a little bit of sex, a little bit of sci-fi. I don't know how much I should reveal right now. I mean, this is really your guys' show. I want people to focus on Vestige. But Captain Love, the hero of the cleansing, is a story that follows Captain Love, where he meets his counterpart, which is Spade, which is represented here in this little bubble on the side next to his arm, and through their conversations and understanding, they basically go through and cover what the legend of Captain Love is, and it's. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, so I'm kind of babbling all over it. But the truth of the matter is it's a fun story that introduces a new character and a new a universe with a hopefully an interesting twist on how things are going. The artwork is by an illustrator named Andrea Bormida. He's actually in Italy. I found him. He used to work on a black and white comic series. It's still popular in Italy called Nathan Never. I got really lucky coming across him, and he has done some amazing, amazing work. Now, Captain Love, Hero of the Cleansing is obviously not the only book in this series, but it's the one that's right now. Actually, the second book in this series is already started being created, and the illustrations for chapter 1 are done, and they're with the colorist. So if people go in and when it's time to back Captain Love, the beauty is it's not stopping here. I've already, you know, been paying out of my pocket on the future of Captain Love. And so it's going to be awesome. And then obviously there's going to be a beautiful variant cover. I don't know if you can see that too detailed wise, but it's going to be pretty beautiful. And then there are trading cards already done and ready to go to print. Also, there's going to be a beautiful T-shirt. The T-shirt says "All you need is love." It's a little play on an existing phrase that people are very familiar with. So this guy here, though, this guy in this outfit, this guy is the villain. He is the core villain. We call him the Executive General. He is a douchebag to the extreme, and I can't wait for you guys to read about him and hate him. Just hate him with a passion. But that's pretty much enough about Captain Love. I'm gonna be beating this to death, and when you know what I mean, and I'm happy to go on War Campaign and talk about it heavily when the time comes. We've been killing this for about an hour. I think we're good. You guys,
just one more thing before you wrap up, Pete.
Yeah.
You showed us some great stuff earlier. And yeah, when people see, you've got some great panel layouts, some of the quality of writing. I mean, you blitzed through it pretty quick, brother, but it's a great story. But that aside, talk about, to me, what Comicsgate is a willingness to bet on each other, and moreover, a willingness to bet on ourselves. So
you want to talk about the hard work and investment I've put into it.
Well, yeah, you've clearly invested. I mean, I saw a completed 70-page book earlier. Yeah, talk about the willingness to invest in yourself out of confidence in what you can do.
Yeah, well, the book itself is something that I really believe in. You know, the story is strong, and I feel it's really original. Okay, so this is the truth of it. It's something I wanted to make happen. You know, I actually came into a little bit of money through the sales of a couple of things, and so I invested every penny of that, and some of that was wasted because this wasn't my first illustrator. I actually went through 2 illustrators before this one, and the first one ripped me off fat, and the second one ripped me off, but not as fat. So I feel really blessed that I found, an illustrator that I can trust and work with. I mean, that I'm sure in Comicsgate there's a buttload of trustworthy illustrators, which I'm excited to get to know more of them over time. But outside of Comicsgate, it's hit and miss out there. It really is. And just say the California illustrators, the guys that live out here, I would say 80% to 90% of them are let's avoid them kind of thing, because they are all talk and zero delivery, and they want an arm and a leg for work that they're not even good enough to try and demand that kind of money. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Marvel and DC has been like picking up illustrators left and right, and just having them dump out crap and building up their egos or something, because I really, it blows my mind how people can say I've done this and this, and it really isn't anything. I mean, it's like you worked on somebody else's property, and you're drawing somebody else's artwork. You know what I mean? You're not really inventing anything. You're just inking over somebody else's pencils or whatever, and you're acting like you're the next coming of Christ. So I had to deal with some of that, but I definitely I've spent every bit of my savings into this book. I've spent every penny of that huge sale that I made, and I've also invested more with currently paying my illustrator on credit card. So yeah, so I hope it would be a blessing that when this book sells, through the crowdfunding, that I make enough to pay myself back. But if it doesn't, that's okay. I'm still pressing forward. I'm not stopping. This is worth it to me. I'm more interested in what this will be, and 5 or 6 years from now, and everybody's loving it, and and hopefully it'll be around all that time. So it's you
Hell,
got to
brother,
believe in
hell.
something. You know what I mean? If you can't believe in yourself,
Yeah,
what can
hell,
you believe
brother.
in?
What can you believe in? There you go, brother. That's what I wanted to hear, man. I mean, inspirational and aspirational. That's what Comicsgate needs to be. Real quick, and then I'll let you take over your own show. Couple, 3 guys, and I'm still leaving some dudes out. Edwin the Ace, he's involved in editorial. Yeah. Power rankings. Fucking
I see him. Edwin the
yeah.
Ace. I see them there.
Yeah. Shears Art, definitely collaborating, helping me out with some ideas and so forth. I want to give him a shout out. Who the hell else? Oh yeah, Ask Narwhal. If you got lifestyle questions for Narwhal, he's got a fitness regimen. He's got a hygiene regimen. Guaranteed to I don't know, bring the ladies. He says so.
Yeah.
Ask
Okay.
Narwhal.
No, not
That's-
bring the ladies, but ask him anyway.
ask him anyway. And oh yeah, can't forget Casey Izawa. What does it get? Real Man.
Oh, the Total Man program by
Total
Casey
Man
Izawa.
program by Casey Izawa. So
Those,
yeah.
I know those all channels that you guys can tweet out, or
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Well, these are things that will be going into. Well, some of them do have YouTube channels. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
they got channels. Yeah.
these
Everybody
are
should follow
all
Casey
parts
Izawa.
of. I would say these are all parts of the editorial and parody sections of
so they're all part
CG
of
Jumpstart magazine.
Right, I gotcha. So
Yeah.
so it's so. All right, I think we've given these 6 viewers a good show.
Yeah, hell, brother.
Hey,
like,
guys,
share, and ring the bell. For fuck's sakes.
Thank you so much for doing the interview today, guys. And it's so great meeting you guys. I mean, I'm still new to Comicsgate. You know what I mean? I've been around like what 2-3 months now, and I mean, when I first came in, I mean, you have to understand that from the outside, learning about Comicsgate, you do a Google search, it gets pretty intimidating. And I'm going to tell you, it was such a blessing. It was such a blessing to find out that you guys were not at all like people say you are.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy, dude. They've built a legend out of the war campaign. Not that we're not legends in our own right. We deserve some of this stuff, the accolades we deserve. The boogeyman, we are not. We're here to help everyone. These people who you come out and you hear the whining and complaining are all people who've had issues with Comicsgate before and with us before. We want everyone to come be a part of Comicsgate. We want everyone to be part of War Campaign, unless they're whining little pussies. That's it.
If you're some of you guys can, Comicsgate is a get the fuck in or fuck the fuck off type of environment, and by all means, some of y'all can do the latter. But if you want to get the F in, I mean, nobody has enough hours in the day to stay current with Comicsgate. It's a fast news cycle, but give us a shout, and we'll give you the high spots.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, all across the board, Vestige looks great. CG Jumpstart is going to revolutionize Comicsgate. I mean, when that gets out,
yeah, brother.
You know what I mean? I'm curious where Comicsgate going to go, because the crowdfunding platform by itself doesn't seem like that could be possibly the end of Comicsgate. I mean, that you can't. That there's got to be another level beyond that. So I'm wondering what that'll be.
Well, we'll see.
It's a curious
I would say
issue.
right now.
Go get.
I would say, but without getting too in depth with it, right now it's a collector's market. These are people who are willing to pay for books simply because the trash that you see from Marvel and DC. But I think the overall plan is for eventually Comicsgate to compete with Marvel and DC. Now, I'm not going to lay out the blueprint of how we're going to pull that off, but I think at the end there's a handful of us who have some high hopes and some broad ambitions. So we'll see what happens.
We believe
Well,
in capitalism. We believe in aspirations. We believe in ambition. And I just want to say that there's a lot of aspersions cast that War Campaign or, whoever's in it wants to claim Comicsgate, wants to steer Comicsgate. It's not the case. It's simply not the case. When it comes to War Campaign, when it comes to CG only, when it comes to CG Jumpstart, we're here to support it.
I think War Campaign is a big part of Comicsgate, but it's obviously not all of Comicsgate. You know what I mean?
We're
So
not trying to claim it, brother. We're just trying to support it. Yeah, we're just here to support it. We're not here to claim it.
Right.
I would say War Campaign, and this is what I've always said: War Campaign are the hardcore of the hardcore. That's what I'll say about it.
The hardcore, the hardcore. Yeah, yep. I see War Campaign as the guys in Comicsgate who have no problem being gay on the internet.
That too.
Well,
that too as well.
Wait a minute.
We wear many hats, brother. We wear many hats.
I love Steve's reaction to that. He's all, well, wait, hold on, guy.
He's been internet gay for well over a year now and refuses to admit it, which makes him the gayest.
Yeah, that's what they say. But I'm enthusiastically heterosexual, and also monogamous. Hell,
allegedly.
Christy. Yeah. No, I'm allegedly both.
Allegedly.
My chick's going to take that like you mean allegedly monogamous. I'm totally monogamous.
No, I mean allegedly not gay. You are gay, clearly.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. It's time to end this stream. Thanks for having us on, E.
One more thing I want to talk about on Comicsgate, so we brush over Comicsgate. The thing about Comicsgate that I think is really amazing is that it has that community. It is a community, and it's a community structure. And I have been around YouTube since YouTube was a baby. All right. I mean, when 2005, YouTube was an infant, and I was active on YouTube since then. And back then, YouTube would not have happened. It would not be what it was if it was not for a community of creators who came together and worked together, and we all lifted YouTube together. We supported each other. We tweeted each other out. We watched each other's videos. We commented on each other's videos. We showed support, full tilt support for each other, and we didn't do it to get support back. We did it because by knowing that I lift you guys up, you guys are gonna, it's not that you're gonna lift me up in return. Your success is gonna look good on me because I'm standing next to you.
Yep, so. I agree. Well, that's what Comicsgate is. I've never seen such a movement in my life. I compare it to. I always say it's an alternative. It's kind of like this alternative counterculture market that popped up out of nowhere. It's almost as if you're selling drugs. You know that? That's the only thing I can compare it to. It's something that people are out there. They want. There's people that have been comic book fans for 30, 40, 50 years. And they're tired of this crap. And then out of the blue, they find out there's a group of people who believe the same way they do. Right. And not only that, now they're making comics that they want to read. So, it's a counterculture market popped out of nowhere. The people that are behind it, they put a lot of money. They spend a lot of time on this shit, to make sure this thing goes, and I hail every one of them because they're the ones who make this thing go around. There's been a couple pros. I'm not going to start naming names or start bullshit on your channel. Right. Yeah. But the true fact is that this is a consumer movement. Right, and it's up to the fans, and they're the ones that makes this thing go. And so, at the end of the day, that's what Comicsgate's about. It's about them.
Yeah,
brother. I almost wanted to throw a lasso over Gatsby there for a minute about it being like drugs, but it took midway through his soliloquy there. It took roots, and that there's a lot of us that have followed comics for a long, long time. Whether it's something really mainstream or whether it's something alternative. And, it's getting really hard to get your fix lately. And Comicsgate is where you can find what you need.
Well, on that note, when I found Comicsgate, I found a blessing because let me just tell you, before Comicsgate, I was stressed out. I had invested like everything, into, basically everything I had, into a book. And and then I was then it's like I was like, okay, well, how am I going to distribute this thing? You know what I mean? I because I had a whole bunch of different ideas, but nothing in stone. And then it's not like I was going to go to Diamond and shill out, five grand in advertising as well as,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And then no guarantees, because basically they have to still, do a little bit of pitch on their own. I mean, I can advertise, but
Yep.
they still do a little pitch on their own. And then, all the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And then they want like 40 or 60% off, you know what I mean? Off the book, off the cover price.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I got to sell like an unprecedented amount of books out the gate just to make my money back. And I got to shell out more money to advertise through these guys specifically. I was not liking that. I mean, if I was rich, it'd be different. It might be okay. But, and then I talked to my local, this was really discouraging. I talked to my local comics book store, and he was all like, "Oh, I love what you're doing here." And I showed him a sample of the book, and he was all, "This is amazing." He goes, "You gotta go talk to Image." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I do. And then so before I talked to Image, I talked to a couple people who worked with Image, and they're like, "No, don't take your book to Image. Your book is done. Don't go to Image. They're gonna poop on your book, and they're gonna try and crap it apart so they can take some credits." And and I was all like, "Wow, are they really like that?" And and so like after that, I was like discouraged. I'm like, "Oh God, what am I gonna do?" So I've been basically searching around, and then and then I found Comicsgate through a hashtag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so basically tripped into your guys' universe. And I'm like, okay, you guys seem like really cool. What the hell is this Comicsgate thing? And then so I basically lurked around in live chats for a while and got a feel of everybody. Started saying hi, started making friends, and now I got some people that I call serious friends that are part of Comicsgate. And I am part of Comicsgate. I might be baby Comicsgate, but I'm still Comicsgate. And
And that's all that matters. It's
Yeah. I mean, we dance around the word community and this and that, but a word that shouldn't escape us often is brotherhood. And I think there's a brotherhood that can be found here. And I also want to tell you, bro, that, I mean, however you come into this, it's one of those wherever you go, there you are situations. But, me and Gat, we can't reveal we have talked to a number of people that have worked with the big two, that are working with the big two now, the IDWs, the whatevers that are, they're not all the way there, but they're coming because they're sick of the same kind of bullshit you were just talking about with Image.
Yeah, that I can't that whole SJW thing. It's kind of funny when I didn't even know that was a thing. You know what I mean? I knew. Okay, I mean, ever since the whole Star Wars debacle, right? That made me cry. By the way, I went to Force Awakens and my heart broke. That was
horrible. We all agree on that too. That's the thing. It's funny how most comic skaters agree on a few things, and it doesn't even have to do with comics. Most of the time, like there's certain. Well, they'll say it's people want to bring up political. It's not political, but there are several things that we don't like, right? For instance, you just brought up the whole Star Wars thing. Well, they shit on something that was beloved by you since you were a kid, right?
Since I was a little kid, I went and saw the first Star Wars A New Hope it wasn't called A New Hope then, it was just Star Wars. And I went and saw that in the theaters myself when it was a new movie and I was a very little child. And
it ruined your childhood, didn't it? It's like shitting on your whole childhood.
It didn't ruin my childhood.
Watch that shit.
It didn't ruin my childhood, but what it did is it took a piece of my heart out of my chest and stretched it for somebody else. It's almost like if your mother took food off of your plate and you're starving to death and gave it to somebody who had more food than they needed.
Yep. That's a good analogy. I feel you. Yeah, I mean, and this is the essence of Comicsgate too. It started. That was one of the reasons why this started, right? People laugh about, haha, gay Iceman, the whole Zach thing, right? That was a big deal back in the day. But that is actually a big deal to comic skaters. Like, this is one of the things that they were standing up for. They were looking at these characters who they loved for, 40, 50, 60 years. and all of a sudden they want to change them, and you don't even recognize them anymore. You know,
Yeah.
look at the latest Batman runs. You know, they're horrible. They've turned Batman into a cuck. They've even did on its cover. You know, like, come on, man. Like, I grew up reading Spider-Man and Batman, and you know all the really cool things, cool dudes, and now they've turned them into these people that I don't recognize. So
yeah, it's almost like you know. I mean, I saw this coming for a while. I mean, with the Star Wars one, that hit hard. You know what I mean? I mean, I always saw the movement. You know what I mean? You know, coming from a long time ago. You know, where it's. And this is going to get me in a lot of trouble because this is going to be controversial as shit. I'm about to fucking say this stuff.
Oh well,
nobody's watching. Fuck them. Okay, so
oh well.
Basically, the thing that I fucking could not stand is that when they want to call it equality, but it's not equal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if it's equality, then fucking you have to realize that in a world of men, we have to fight against each other. We got to fight for our own placement. We're not automatically fucking given something. We have to fucking we have to take it. And as a man, you fucking have to stand up and you have to fucking carry the burden that's on your fucking back. And you usually have to carry other people's burdens too because you got to be a man. All right, you want to talk equality? You have to walk that fucking line with me. You know, I don't want to fucking see you get an extra step.
They don't want to explore that though. You know that?
Yeah.
They don't
I'm just saying that it's not equality unless it's fucking really equal. You know what I mean? And I'm all for equality. I'm saying, you know what? Let women do whatever they want. They can. They're capable of doing anything they want to do. Just don't fucking take it away from me to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Hell, brother. Hell.
Right, so that was controversial as shit. Everybody's gonna hate me now, but fuck them.
No, you're in the right crowd. Yeah, you're in the right crowd to sell that crazy because it ain't crazy at all. That's what it is. I mean, you know, that's whether we're talking about comic book story archetypes or we're talking about interpersonal relationships. Men have roles, women have roles, kids have roles, which is to get, you know, to stay in line, maybe take a spanking and get sent out to mow the yard. And there's a real sense of entitlement now from, you know, I don't know if it's generational or what. I suspect it is, but you know, it's one of those deals where
the world now, Steve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the world doesn't deserve you living, kids. I hate to tell you that.
The sense of entitlement is actually a social construct. It's something that's happened over a long period of time. It started with a self-delusional as a society, thinking that it's going to be okay. You know, like it started with. I mean, it sounds like shit, but I mean, it started with the downfall of the American family. You know what I mean? When the economy requires two parents to go to work. So, and what happens is that has its own backfired cycle, is because obviously when you have two incomes in the family, now that family has more spending power. So now the law of supply and demand means that there's more to supply. So now the prices start to go up on everything else, forcing other people into the workforce. So now everybody's got to have a two-income family or they can't survive. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what does that do? Well, that creates fucking dynamics, that creates sexual problems in the relationship. It creates financial problems in the relationship. It fucking strains the relationship. It makes it breaks people up. And then what happens when you break up a family, right? Dad goes away because mom doesn't want to do shit with them anymore. She doesn't want to see the kids. She doesn't want them to do shit. You know what I mean? And then so now those kids grow up without a dad, and that happens generation after generation after
family
generation.
Homes, and then
Yeah, I'm at the very, very tail end of it, but I feel fortunate to come from a generation where mom packed my lunch, and when I got kicked out of school for having heavy metal in class, it would be my dad that kicked my ass.
Yeah, I'm of that generation myself. I was. It's funny because I remember I was there when it became illegal to spank in school. You know, but what they did instead of spanking me in school, they called my dad to come down and spank me. While I was in school.
Dude, I looked out that my dad had already
twice
been
as
killed.
Bad then.
Yeah.
You get it when you get home too, because like
because he had to leave work or whatever he was doing to come look your ass. He's gonna give it to you again.
I can cut an even finer line into that, where I was generationally aware all of a sudden, Assistant Principal Hollis beat my ass with a wooden paddle all the way through junior high and into fucking the beginnings of high school. And then, this ain't the happy part, but yeah, my dad had gotten killed. So yeah. And my stepdad did, I was as big as him. He wasn't even thinking about whipping my ass. So I did get a reprieve during the last couple of years of high school where, nobody's spanking my ass anymore because Larry wouldn't dare and fucking Principal Hollis isn't allowed to anymore. So there was that. Like, at least I got that going for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. But you really think back, like what would kids be like now if they were afraid of getting their ass whooped for stepping out of line?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Principal Hollis beat my ass with a big wooden paddle.
You're seeing the result. I mean, look at this generation, right? You're seeing the result of that very thing. So
yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like two sides to that coin because obviously ass whippings can be abused and overused and do psychological damage if the right person's So it's kind of like
there's a difference between abuse and needing your ass kicked for appropriate reasons too, and the appropriate amount of punishment. Like there's a total difference, and I feel like. They try to mix the two together, and it's not one and the same thing. I grew up with that whooped my ass knew the difference, So
I feel like I'm pretty sure that fuck you. I'm glad you're dead, Assistant Principal Hollis. But I think he got into it just for the abuse. But on the other hand, one of the things that has informed me in my entire mostly successful adult life is that when I was a kid. Child therapy was defined as my daddy Jimmy whooping my ass with a belt and sending me out to mow the yard.
Yeah, no, child therapy from my dad was, I'll give you something to cry about.
That's what my dad didn't say that.
It's like silence.
I'd get beat with the belt and sent out to mow the yard, and that kind of sucked. But when he would just like thump me in the forehead and look at me sideways,
Yeah.
He died when I was pretty young, but, it's been a minute. But I'll never forget, feeling like I really fucked up. It'd be one thing if he beat me with the belt. But if I just, did something in the moment, he, thumped me between my eyes with his middle finger and looked at me sideways, I'd be like, fuck, I just disappointed my dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I need to straighten up and be a man. And, I don't know.
It's not about the ass whooping. That's the thing. It's not actually about the ass whooping, right? It's about the disappointment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the sociopaths don't get.
It
don't affect sociopaths.
Sometimes it's about the ass whooping that you don't. I mean, it's
occasionally.
I mean, if the immediate fear when you're doing something wrong, that whole that's the getting your ass kicked is what causes that. Because
I just didn't want to disappoint my dad. I feel like when he was beating my ass, it was because that's what they did then, and I deserved it. But when he just thumped me in between the eyebrows, I was like, fuck, I'm a real fuck up. I shouldn't be a fuck up. I should aspire to be something more than a fuck up. And I don't know, these kids today are generational or whatever. I don't, it's carried me through a lot of really tough times in life that, the bottom line is don't be a fuck up,
Well, that's obviously ideal. I mean, they don't really teach kids to not be a fuck up. They just teach kids to not be criminals.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I mean, what's with the logic? If it's not illegal, it's okay. I mean, that's just, that's the problem with that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right, guys, we've been on for an hour and a half now. I'm sure this is going to be a long-ass video for anybody. It's kind of cool that we saved the controversial shit to the end because no one's going to sit through a fucking hour and a half to get to this point.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, they noped out before we went off the rails, but it's cool.
All right, hey, you guys, I you know what? After all this, I'm going to consider you guys friends, man. You guys are my brothers.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. And thanks again for coming to the live stream. This is my first official live stream as a comic skater, and it won't be my last. And I'm just fucking stoked that you guys were here for it, man. I'm serious.
So
wait, be a part of it, man. It's great.
Yeah. Right. Welcome to the fold, hell, brother.
Thank you. I'm going to end this broadcast. You guys don't go nowhere. All right.
Right on.